Can you talk a little bit about the 1915 I services? What is that?
Yeah, what is that? That's another, if you think of, I think of Medicaid pots, right? Although it's one big budget, I think of pots. So 1915I is a Medicaid pot of funding that our state decided to go for, and Centers for Medicaid and Medicaid Services at the federal level said, yes, we want you to do this. We will do this with you. We'll partner with you for this. And many states use 1915I services. 1915I is just the general descriptor, the kind of definition of where the money comes from, right? 1915I services are new in North Carolina. And we have been trying to launch these services because if you think about it, if you got 15 or 16,000 people on the waiting list for the Innovations Waiver, they need services or they wouldn't be on the waiting list. So what can we get them? Several of the LMEs have worked hard over the years trying to get services to people who are on the waiting list, and some have done better than others. This is a pot of Medicaid money specifically for community-based services that these people will become eligible for, and you don't have to be on the Innovations Waiver wait list to be eligible for 1915I services. So these are services for people with IDD, TBI, significant mental illness, serious substance use disorders as well. For folks with IDD, there are 4 main types of services they can get through 1915I, and those are respite, which lots of people need, supported employment, community living and supports, which is just supporting me in my home and community surroundings. And then there's a community transition service for people who want to move. Let's say they want to move out of their family home or out of a group home or some other place into a more independent setting. Maybe they're going to have a roommate with an apartment or something. There's some funds there to help fund that move. To be eligible for 1915I services, you need a care manager, a tailored care manager, when we can talk about that later as well, or a care coordinator from an LME who will do what we call an independent assessment to determine whether or not you need these services. That gets done, it's fairly short, quick, and easy compared to some of the other assessments we have to do in the state. We send that into the LME, again, those 4 that we talked about, send that into the LME. The state has a contracted vendor that looks at all of this and decides, yes, you're eligible, or no, you're not. Typically, if you have IDD, you're going to be eligible for 1915I services, and then could work with your care manager to develop a plan around those services, figure out a provider in the community who's going to provide those services, and determine how many hours a week you might need of each of those services that you want to try to get. That plan goes back to the LME, and then it goes through a process of them determining what's called utilization management. One section of, remember the building with the floors, there's a floor for utilization management, and that's where they manage the care, and they determine, does Holly need 74 hours a week of service? We don't think so. That's too much. We're going to give her 20 hours of service. And that's an extreme example, but that's kind of what utilization management does. They look at the need versus the amount projected of service to be provided, and then they approve or not approve. And if they don't approve, then the individual or the family has appeal rights. So that's kind of a long explanation for 1915I, but it is a new thing that North Carolina is launching. There's a lot of confusion about it out there, and we could go into a lot more detail later.
And we will, as promised, we will make another video focusing just on 1915I services.